As the movement started, we started with women's stories. Women got together and women helped each other to get out, to be in a safe place, even if it was for a night, and then I'll go back. You know, it was providing safety and support to people. And now we've gotten, you know, into a place where now you can't provide that empathy and listening and support because it's not professional, because you don't have an MSW. And you know what? This is not what it started out. This was a community of people that came, women that came together to provide support and empathy and understanding, because I have walked in your shoes, or I can just understand because my mother walked in your shoes,
or
just wrong, and I don't think it's right, and I'm going to be there for you, period. When does it become important to listen to others?
I think it's always important to listen to others. But again, listening doesn't always mean hearing. Personally, I mean, you know, I can use my own personal experience. It has nothing to do with racism, but with my father, you know, he listens, he doesn't hear me.
What it means not to be heard, it suppresses. People won't know my story. People won't hear my voice. People won't know my experiences.
See, I don't know, and I think we've had these conversations before where because I'm an advocate, that's what I do, and so I don't have a problem speaking up, and almost in a cocky sense of, you're going to hear me, you're going to hear me, and I know in the past I've always thought that I was a good advocate, like I'm a great advocate. However, I think we've had conversations where I've assumed that, but then looking at race and how it plays into this, that I'm a good white advocate. And so I even have much more ability and privilege to get heard.
And not being heard, does it affect you differently than it would a person of color?
If I were to not be heard, see, I don't.
I mean, do you even think about not being heard?
I was going to say, I don't know that I have that experience. I mean, there's times when I haven't been heard. Like, I've tried to voice my opinion or advocate or say something, and it's been challenging. But the idea of not being, you're going to hear my voice. So I don't know that I don't know that I know what that feels like. And
Well, I mean, I think also this particular movement, the voices that were heard from the very beginning historically were white women. And they weren't telling the story of women of color. And so I think that it's high time and overdue that those voices be heard.
Right, it's not being heard. Going to the hospital with my daughter and my partner and getting treated different than I'd ever been treated before when I go there by myself.
And I remember that because I remember you came to work and I said, well, why didn't one of y'all stay at home? You know, and I'm like, oh God, what did I just say? You know, but in coming from a black woman, it's like, it made sense to me because that's how we survive and maneuver around in the system. That, you know, you know certain things are going to happen, so why push it?
but with that, you have the ability to stay home. You don't.
Correct.
You
does
have
it make
the
it
option.
right?
It does, right or wrong, but you at least have the option of not identifying your sexuality, like not coming forward and saying that. You don't.
But then I'm not true to myself.
Well, but there's the options there. I mean, I'm just saying that the option's out there.
There's no such thing as a level playing field. Culturally, racially, it just does not exist. So when I assume that it's only going to take you 30 days to get a job, for example, then for women of color, I'm not taking into account all the racism that's going to be coming at them when they're applying for something. I'm not assuming you should get a car in X amount of days. I'm not, I'm not understanding the credit issues and the higher prices and, and the unfairness that's being thrown at them, or around childcare, around getting access to other services, or that she should call the police, because God help me, the police are going to come with their own assumptions about what happened, and then I'm assuming that the police will actually be helpful, or that she wants the police to help.
And when you think about all that, what you just finished saying, you think about, that question where, I always hear white folks saying, well, can't people of color be racist too? We don't have the societal support to be racist. We can have some issues, some prejudice, and like I said, I hate that term, internalized oppression, but we are just mimicking white America when we use that term. We're just mimicking white America. So if you think about all the things that Kate just said, you think about, we don't have the power to be racist. We don't have that support or that backing to be racist.
I remember hearing one time when we went to Puerto Rico, the woman that stood up and talked about how it was that for years we had been doing the same kind of intervention, sort of like this blanket intervention with everybody in shelters and counseling and groups and blah, blah, blah. And one of the things that she said at that podium that was, that people applauded because it finally was said out loud was that, Latinas are not submissive and want to be abused and like to be abused and all this kind. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I've heard that Latinas are submissive. And I remember her saying, it was Sandra Camacho, and she's dead now. She died of cancer. But she said, we don't want to leave our partners. And so the thing about creating all these safety plans about leaving, you can create a safety plan that will help you to be safe and still stay in the relationship. It's a different thought process of how you're going to do that. And that was what she was saying. We were so used to having everybody come, and this is how you can leave, and not everybody. And I'm just talking about Latinos, but I can probably say that in general, everyone is not in the place to leave. And sometimes it's not the right thing for that person to leave. And for Latinas, many Latinas, it just isn't what they want to do. They want the violence to stop, which I'm sure a lot of people want. Most women want the violence to stop. It doesn't automatically mean that so you're only seeing it from one lens if you don't provide the safety planning that takes into account all the risk pieces and just life in general.
I've told you all this story, but I'm there, and because I feel like I'm so oversensitive almost. Like it's like I take in so much more, and I see so much more, and I hear so. Like it's not this surface level. It's like, it's like, okay, wait a minute, you better calm down, Rose, because you can't save the world. And so I'm in the store, and there is the register lady, and she is black. And there's a guy next to her who's bagging this stuff, and it was Thanksgiving time, because I remember that damn turkey. The guy is white. The turkey comes in, right, to play. Behind me is a lady, but she's got her back turned, like in her cart, putting the stuff on the belt. And I noticed on the back of her shirt this Confederate flag. And I was like, okay. And I'm looking at her, and of course I'm judging her, okay, because I can. And and I'm looking at the register lady, the black woman, and I'm thinking, what is she thinking about this Confederate flag? She might not be thinking about it, but I'm going to do enough thinking for both of us, right? What's the connect? Like, does she see it? Does she? And I want to ask her. And I want her to hear. I want to say, help me understand where you're at with this. And I want to, can we have a conversation? And the guy is there, and he's just bagging, completely numb to anything. And she then, and I'm there, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna get killed. This is great. And this woman turned around, and she's got this big old black eye. And I was like, what do I do? What do I do? I was so like overwhelmed with oh, you know where that came from. You know, and it was everything in me. And so the guy's got the turkey, and you know how it's in that handle net thing, and it slips out of the handle net, and he's falling. I'm like, just give me the damn turkey. Put the turkey in the cart. I got to get out of the store because I'm dying. Like, I'm having a panic attack. And so I'm thinking about, where is this with our work? Unless we address the issues like of racism and culture, we can't move forward.